And now back to Matthew Hatfield and that evil basketball coach. Blast you, Ed Young!
Yeah, I'm back with the evil basketball coach, but helping to give us good spirit and feel nice is the head basketball coach of the Atlee Raiders. Congratulations on a Region 4B championship. They beat Varina's Blue Devils last night, 66-59. Now 23-1 and humming, and I'm sure Ed's going to take credit for him because, hey, we went and saw him over at Bethel High School back in late December. They haven't lost but one time since. We'll win that one loss on Ed. We say hello and congrats to Coach Valley Axselle. Coach, got to feel great for your team to be going on to the state playoffs and making some history there at Atlee High.
It definitely is. It's been a great run. Guys been playing well, and it's pretty cool for Atlee High School to be in the state tournament for the first time ever. So kids are excited, and fans are excited. So it's been great.
Well, and you've got some special young men on your team, some youngsters that you've coached even from the summer travel time. Will Hopkins, a newcomer, your son on the basketball team. You had an older son that played for you previously, but you're going to take on either Hampton or Churchland, a couple of teams from the 7-5-7 in the state quarterfinals coming up on Tuesday. Let's do this, though. For those that aren't familiar with your background, tell us about how you got into coaching, all your stops, and what is taking you up to Atlee and what year this is for you.
So I was actually going to VCU as a student, and my former high school coach had an opening at the 9th grade level, and he asked me. I was a sophomore in college. He's like, "You want to coach?" And I was like, "Well, I never really thought about it," but I was like, "Okay." So he got me hooked into coaching, and I finished up at VCU, got my teaching degree, and I was teaching and coaching at Godwin. Was assistant there for about 13 years. Then got the Deep Run job. I was at Deep Run for 2 years as the head varsity coach. Then moved on to Hampton Sydney for a couple years, and then came back to Richmond, and I was working at Rocket Sports. It's a basketball and baseball training facility, so I was running the basketball part of that. And then applied for the Atlee job, got that, and been here since 2017. 18 is my first season, and been rolling ever since.
Heck of a story, Ed. Heck of a story.
Well, it's interesting when you said you got, by the way, thanks for coming on. And you see what I got to deal with this nut job where, he's calling me evil. And we just had Clyde Spellman, the head coach in Indian River, who used to be an official, did my games. He said, "Clyde, I know you teed him up, right?" And Clyde said, "No, Ed knows the game. He knows what he can get away with." He said he's one of the best guys we see. This nut job tries to get me thrown out of everything and makes everybody think that I'm the bad guy.
Good cop, bad cop. Good cop, bad cop. He's making you look bad.
But Riley, I look at and listen to your background on that, and I had the opportunity to see your team to play, and hard nose. Don't make a lot of dumb mistakes. Shoot at the right basket. Your kids really seem to really zone in on what you're saying. Very coachable type kids.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to your coming through this because I actually started coaching my second year of college.
Okay.
At my old school, and they said, "Hey, we need a coach for the junior high." They called them junior high back then. Mm-hmm. Would you be interested? I said, "Okay, well, yeah. Who am I assisting? Nobody. You do. Well, how's the team? We don't know. We never had one.
All right.
So I had to do everything.
Right.
And I remember buying T-shirts. Had my at the time was my girlfriend, later became my wife. Dye them yellow so we would put red numbers on because that was their colors.
Okay.
That's how I got my start in coaching, and I loved it ever since.
Right.
But in your background, and you're going through your different myriads of different programs, who were some of the influential people on your philosophy building? Because when I watch your kids play, and I know this is a lot you now, you have their attention. They are focused. They mostly do what you ask. It's not always true in all coaches. Who were some minds that you picked or people that you kind of said, "Okay, I need to take this and this," because we steal from everybody.
Right. I think, Mark Seidenberg was the head coach at Godwin when I got the 9th grade job. So he was obviously he had a huge impact on me and my coaching philosophy. Now, he was a defense first guy, and I was probably more of an offensive guy. So it was good to work with him. So to see the importance of defense. And then, that was when I was the 9th grade coach. And then later I became assistant to Hunter Thomas, and he was a defensive guy too. So he let me run the offense. So I was kind of the offensive coordinator on the varsity, if you will. So that gave me I learned a lot from him, and he also gave me a lot of freedom to do what I wanted. So I learned a lot there. So those were two of the big mentors. personally. Now, I read a lot of Phil Jackson back in the day, a lot of his books, and studied him. And then I'm a Carolina fan. My dad went to Carolina. My wife went to Carolina. So Dean Smith and Roy Williams have always been, from reading books about them, they've kind of been influences on me too.
Good deal. And you mentioned family there, Coach. We have to go there before we get to your team in this upcoming quarterfinal match, and maybe even rehash a little bit of last night's win over Varina, which is a huge win for the program and you and your kids, your staff. You got your couple of sons that have played for you. Tell us about that. One's in college. One's going to, is it CNU next year?
Correct. Yeah. So my older son is at Guilford. So they had a nice upset win versus Virginia Wesleyan on Wednesday. And so they're playing today, actually, as you know, versus Macon. Will not be able to get there, but my wife's on the way up there now. So hopefully they can pull that off. And then my younger son is a senior this year, and he will be going to Christopher Newport next year. And he's really excited about that. So I've been at Atlee for 8 years, and I had a son on the team for 6 of them. So it'll be weird after this year not having one, but I'm glad that they're moving on and, experience somebody else coaching them and let the coaches deal with them.
There you go. Lee Merrick from Ballin VA chimes in. He says, great win last night meeting you as well. And Ed saw that Wesleyan and Guilford game of the night. Ed was there for that one.
Man, I'll tell you what, and now it just dawns on me, your son's playing on that team. Why did I not notice that name? I was probably mesmerized because I'm going to give Guilford a million credits. Tommy did a great job. They were throwing it over the head, it would go in.
Yeah.
And Dave on the Wesleyan side couldn't make layups in the layup line. And the harder they tried, the worse they looked. It's the worst. I told Dave later, he was at the high school game the next night recruiting, and he sat right in front of me. I said, I don't know what to tell you. He said, Coach, we were bad. I said, no, it's just one of them games where you probably had, I know I've had them. Nothing went right, no matter what whatever, and a lot of times it's in us as coaches, we think, okay, we must have did something wrong too. And I asked Dave, and he said, Coach, game plan was good. And they beat Guilford by 20 at Guilford earlier in the year.
Yes, that's what I was
figured that out.
I was talking to my son earlier in the week. I'm like, man, they beat you by 19 or 20 the first time. Y'all better be ready to go. And he said they kind of switched up their game plan a little bit, but I think that helped. But I also think, like you said, it was just kind of one of those nights for Virginia Wesleyan. Things weren't going their way. And Guilford had some guys that hadn't been scoring that well, and they got hot against Wesleyan. Just everything went Guilford's way for sure.
Now, before I know Matt wants to get into your personnel, and that's the big part of the interview is your kids. I got to ask you, you coach 2 different sons. Yeah. And how is that? Because I've never had the pleasure of doing that. I don't have any sons, obviously, but I always wonder.
Wait, they call you Daddy Young. You're not your kids. They call you Daddy Young.
No, that's because I get on them real hard like a dad. And I've been some places that if I didn't do that, I would have had that Wesleyan experience a lot. How was that? Because you're playing the role of coach, the sergeant at arms, your dad, which plays many roles in there, and then you got to have the wife in the middle. How does all of that work out?
Well, Hunter Thomas, who I coached with the guy when we talked about earlier, he coached his 2 sons at Godwin, and he told me, he goes, do your best to leave the basketball on the court, and when you get home, don't talk about it unless your son brings it up. So he's like, just let it die, die on the court, leave it there. Try not to talk about it at home. And that, we try to do that most of the time, and most of the time that works. I'm probably my younger son, the one here now at Atlee, has benefited from his older brother. So I'm much more patient now than I was with the first one. So I think the younger son has definitely benefited from that, but it definitely can be challenging. And my wife does not always appreciate the way I talk to my sons during the game. So sometimes she lets me know about that too. So it could be an interesting dynamic at times.
Riley, when I say that, I always preface my comments by saying, I'm a big Al McGuire fan from back in the day. I loved Al McGuire as a coach and as an announcer. And somebody asked him one time, Allie, his son, played for him at Marquette. And that's when Marquette, when they won the national title, they had athletes galore. Bo Ellis, all the Jerome Whitehead, they had athletes. And you had little Allie, little white dude out there at the point guard, and he was dishing the ball. But you could tell the backup point guard was an if I'm not mistaken, an All-American, but he was the backup point guard. And they were asking him, I remember on national TV, they said, Coach, you play your son a whole lot, and it seems like the guy behind her better. What's your reason behind that? And he said, simple. I sleep with his mother. And if I don't if I don't play the kid, then
Right.
she told me I don't get to play at home, and I laughed my butt off because it went
That's
right
good.
over the interviewer's head as to
Right.
how he was trying to dress up the answer.
Yeah,
And
that's funny.
he said
Yeah.
because I see his mother, I said, man, that was the
That
best
was a good
answer.
answer. Yeah. Well, I told my kids when they were little, and I said, if you guys want to play basketball, and I'm going to be the coach, you better be very good, because you can't be either going to be really good or really bad. So I don't have to play you at all, or you got to be
Yes.
one of the better players, because in between is going to get me a lot of trouble.
That perfect. That's absolutely. You're right. You either be real good, or
Yeah.
you might as well hand out the water and the towels,
Yeah,
because you can't
exactly.
play mediocre,
Yeah.
because the kids can't win with the fans.
Right.
Even though the
Exactly.
parents, well, we know why
Yeah.
you're playing. Come on now.
I know it can be tough for sure. So yeah.
Well, in our remaining time with, we know you got your practice coming up at the top of the hour, so we'll try to keep you get you off before that. We've touched on obviously your son rival, who's at Guilford, Knox, who's playing for you now. Tell us about other key contributors to this year's team, including last night's win over Varina. I know Will Hopkins is a big factor for you, and also have a multi-sport athlete who does some great things on the baseball diamond too.
This is by far, I mean, obviously, because we have a good record, but this is the most athletic, the tallest, the most athletic team we've had. So obviously, Will coming in like 2 or 3 weeks before the season was huge. You know, when you're getting a Division II basketball player, you know, kid that's got a Division II scholarship coming in, adding him to your team, that was enormous. We had our top 3 scorers coming back from a 16-win team, so we knew we thought we were going to be pretty good. Then you add him. Reed Taylor, who was going to play lacrosse at Navy. He played last year, but he broke his wrist six games into the season. So he's like kind of almost like a new guy. So we had him coming back. We had Ryan Miller, who didn't play last year, but he's going to play lacrosse at CNU. We added him. So he's a great defender. He has great vision. And then obviously Noah Yoder, who is going to play baseball at Duke, and probably going to be drafted in the MLB here in the next few months. And then we got Matthew Martin, who's going to play football at U of R. So we just got some athletes. And then we really play mostly seniors. We have one sophomore, Connor Wilcox, who was a freshman, obviously a freshman last year, first team all-region as a freshman. He'll play college basketball eventually. But we just have I've just been blessed with a lot of talent, a lot of athletic talent, guys that love to compete. So it's been a great season in that part.
Well, you've got some multi-sport athletes there. The chemistry was something that Ed and I noticed right away from watching your team over at Bethel and the Iverson showcase, just how well you play for each other. We gave you the compliment of it's like watching a better version of Kellum, who's always a fundamentally sound, consistently good team down here in the 757. How big was the buy-in, though, from Will Hopkins? He comes in. I know he played with you guys previously in travel ball in the summer, but for him to sacrifice, he's going to have some big scoring nights, but not always to take a ton of shots. He's buying into your team concept, and you guys are thriving.
Yeah, and I think that's I coached Will his freshman and sophomore year after his freshman in AAU, so I knew who he was and knew what kind of player he was. You're always a little concerned when you got a really good team coming back, and then now you're bringing in Will, who's probably going to be your best player, one of your best players. But the thing about Will is, like, he can score. He's not selfish. He moves the ball. He makes the right plays, and he also plays hard on the defensive end. So it was pretty seamless because of the way he plays. Now, if he came in and he was selfish and didn't play much defense, we'd probably have a lot of troubles. The chemistry wouldn't have been as great. But since he plays the right way, that just allowed this to be a seamless transition for Will to come in.
Talking about Bradley Axselle, he's the head basketball coach of the Atlee Raiders. You see it on our screen there. The bracket for Class 4, they're taking on either Churchland or Hampton. Varina will take on the Region 4A champion. That game is tonight at Manor High School in Portsmouth at 7:30. Varina takes on the winner in the state quarters, whereas Atlee will host the runner-up between either Churchland or Hampton. Have they decided, Coach, yet where that game will be played yet for you guys on Tuesday? Are you going to get a chance to host it, or is it a neutral site?
From what I'm told, we're going to play it here at Atlee, so that's good for us.
Okay, yeah. Good to hear for you. Good chance to have a home court advantage. And have you seen much of either? We can dive into a little bit of, obviously, Varina's a super talented team. Ed got a chance to call their game in our Virginia Preps Classic when they beat Catholic, really good private school down in our neck of the woods. But Hampton and Churchland, have you seen much on them, and how much is the scouting and preparing going on? You obviously have a game plan if you get one outcome, another game plan if you get another outcome, right?
Right. We have not seen either of them yet. You don't want to look forward too much. You just want to say, all right, we got to get to the state tournament. But I'm actually going to make the drive down there tonight and go to Manor and see that game. And so we'll kind of figure out from there, and then maybe get some film from some guys and hopefully have a good scouting report and for Monday's practice.
There you have it, Ed. And Ed's seen both of them, the Truckers and the Crabbers. And that Class 4 field, as we show it back on the screen again here, it's mighty good however you slice it. Any of these teams, Hanley's 24-1. Heritage of Leesburg is the only team to beat you guys this season, Coach, right? That was in the Lake Braddock tournament?
Yeah, Lake Braddock Tournament Championship, double overtime buzzer beater. It hurt, but they're a well-coached team, young team too. Really, they're mostly sophomores, but they play well. Like they play well together. They got all the right pieces, so it was a very good matchup for us. And love to come out on the other end, but it was definitely a good game.
Yeah, EC Glass and Tuscarora have both played in state championship games the past 2 years. Tusky losing to Hampton, Glass losing the year before to Varina. Oh, by the way, Churchill might have the fewest wins in the field, and they got a guy going to the ACC and Sincere Jones to Virginia Tech. So there is no easy team in this field, Ed.
No, Riley, I was telling Matt, we looked over this earlier. My eyes went towards you and Hanley, probably because of record, but I saw you guys play. But I've seen Churchill, and I've seen him. Now, Churchill's been a little iffy here late in the season, but they kind of got it on track ready at the right time. Matt's keeping me up to date on Tuscarora and EC Glass and Heritage Leesburg. And again, I've seen Varina. In a down year, you better be worried about Varina.
Yes.
Because they have the athletes and the coach have been there for a while. So I think unlike some of the other regions, I think this 4A is wide open.
Yeah, I definitely think it is too. Like again, knowing Heritage and then obviously playing Varina, and you always know Hampton and Churchill are good teams. So yeah, it'll be interesting. And then obviously people. It's funny. At the beginning of the year, we were talking about Division 4, and people mentioned Hanley from the get-go. So people knew they were going to be good. They got some good players. So it'll be interesting how it all plays out. It should be, it should be a fun ride. So hopefully we'll be ready to roll on Tuesday.
Yeah, Will Brondoin for Hanley is one of the most electric scorers in the whole state. And other parts have followed suit for Zach Harrell, Zook's judges. Last one for me. I'll let Ed finish up and let you get to practice here. About their game last night in Varina, very athletic team. You're familiar with them from all your years in the 804. What was the key going in? And certainly that's a team that you could, if things were to break right, you might run into them again in the state championship because they're that good. And you guys hope to get there as well and be playing like you did last night.
Yeah, no doubt. Like we were supposed to play them, we play them every year there in our district. So we were supposed to play them, but then we got snowed out, so we didn't even get a chance to play them this year. And so the last time we played them was in the semifinals last year of the region. And so they jumped on us early last year, and we never really got any footing and really got going. So one of the emphasis last night was like, we have got to get off to a good start. And we did. Knox hit a 3, Will hit a 3, boom, we were off and running. I think that gave the guys confidence. And so, our defense was solid. They didn't overwhelm us to start the game. And so once we kind of settled in and all right, we can play with them. We belong. And so we played well for most of the game. We had some dips, but we stayed consistent, throughout.
3-ball can be the great equalizer in tournament basketball, as we well know, with the Atlee Raiders sitting at 23-1 before Tuesday's state quarterfinal against the Truckers or the Crabbers.
Well, I can say, you're probably going to see Matt and I over there tonight. We're going to try to see a couple different games today. You're going to get out there and scout, just, again, for the sake of the audience. And I know it's, we know what you're scouting for. But and sweeten it up where when you come out to go scout somebody you're going to play that you haven't seen all year, you're in a state situation where it's do or die. What key, maybe 2-3 key things you look at as a head coach on an opponent that you really haven't seen a whole lot during the year?
Right. We're trying to get the tendencies of the main guys and kind of see what they do. Are they right-handed, left-handed? Are they shooters? Are they drivers? Are they going to post up? What do they do individually first? And then defensively, what's their staple? Are they man-to-man? Are they full court? Are they zoning us? Are they going to zone press us? Kind of figure out what their staple defense is, kind of be able to work against that on Monday in practice. And then offensively, how are they? Are they fast breaking? Are they in the half court? They're going to run sets. We're going to have to get through screens. Is it conducive for us to play our man, or do we need to play zone? What do we be able to do to neutralize them or slow them down? So those are kind of the 3 main things we do. And you gotta worry about what they're doing, but you gotta rely on what you've done all year, and hopefully that works and that can carry you on to the next game.
Well, Coach, congratulations on a great season so far. It's not done. Your Region 4B champions made some history at Atlee High School last night. As Lee Mary says, awesome atmosphere there. You're going to be taking on either Churchland or Hampton in the state quarterfinals. All the best in the state tournament. Hopefully, Ed and I see you and get a chance to call your state championship game on the NFHS network later on at the Siegel Center in Richmond. And by the way, it always says to his coaching counterparts, win or buy. So if he runs into you tonight at the concession stand in Portsmouth, he's going to try to get you to buy him something because you were the winner last night. So just giving you a heads up. See, okay. I'm just giving you a little fair warning in case he runs into you. You might want to dodge him if you see him.
Why wouldn't he? I haven't won a game all year. He's got won them all except one, and that was a buzzer beater on a poor referee call somewhere during the game. So this guy is magic.
Always the ref's fault we lose. Always the ref's fault. Now, I'm more than happy to buy. Gotcha. All right. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All the best. We'll see you later. Take care, Coach.
All right.
Good luck to you, Coach.
Axselle, head basketball coach, the Region 4B champion, Atlee Raiders. We'll come back and take another break, and then we'll put the finishing touches on this show that has flown by. We might